everybody. So today I wanted to talk about my new EP, Grave of Eden Deluxe Edition, and kind of take you through the lore behind it, I guess, and kind of what the songs are about, and some fun facts and maybe behind the scenes about recording and writing them and things like that. I think that might be kind of fun. I've got absolutely no idea where the concept for Grave of Eden came from. I do not remember why I decided to write about this. I wrote the first song, Genesis, on the 28th of August 2022, so it's definitely been a while since I wrote it. So whatever me from the past was thinking, I have no idea. It's a very strange concept. I don't even fully understand it, so I wouldn't expect anybody listening to. The basic story is there is this character called Mother. Basically, I think towards the end, Mother became Eve from the story of Adam and Eve, and she basically commits a sin, and as punishment for this sin, she is cursed to constantly have to rebuild the earth from scratch and then watch as humanity destroy it over and over again. So to me, Mother is this giant, like, planet, Earth-sized, bigger than Earth-sized skeleton woman. In my notes for this video, I have written big ass lady, and the story of Mother is told in the first song, Genesis. I feel like stolen time. Behold the earth, lay me inside. So basically, she creates the earth herself. It takes her however long, thousands of years to do it, if not more. And then when she's finished building it, she buries herself inside and goes to sleep. She just becomes the earth. Behold the earth, lay me inside. And from my ribs a garden grows. So kind of life on earth grows from within her. And unfortunately, as we tend to do, humans tend to sin and they tend to destroy whatever they find. So slowly but surely, the earth that she created gets destroyed. Eventually, she crawls back out and kind of does the final blow herself and just destroys everything to rebuild again. So she's in this constant cycle of create and destroy. I don't really have much to say about the writing of the song Genesis. It was the first one that I wrote on the 28th of August 2022. I mean, it's kind of just short and simple acoustic song that sets up the concept that I totally kept running through the entire EP, and kind of gives us an idea as to what the story is. Next comes Lilith, and those of you who have been following me since the EP came out last year might have seen the video that I released announcing it and talking about the story of Lilith, but I'll go through it again here. So Lilith was the second song that I wrote for this EP, and the inspiration behind it is not very nice, honestly. Basically, I was walking to work one day and I had a pretty nasty encounter with two boys, teenage boys I think, definitely younger than me anyway. They said some very nasty things and followed me to work. And I had been researching the story of Lilith at the time, but I found that I was able to take some of the themes from the story and some of the lines from the research that I was seeing and the quotes from the Bible and relate them to what had happened to me. So I used the song Lilith as a way to kind of deal with what had happened and as a way to take back the control that I felt that those two boys had taken from me on that day. In terms of the song, Lilith is a really fun one because it's, you know, it's got big vocals and electric guitar and bass and drums, and it was the first song of mine to ever have that, so that was really exciting. The second pre-chorus, when I sing "Oh Father," that is inspired by a live performance of Let the Flames Begin by Paramore. So the next song is Paradise Lost. Paradise lost, paradise lost, paradise lost, paradise lost, paradise lost. The song was the last one that I wrote for it, and it really came out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere. I sat down, not even intending to write a song, I think I just picked up my guitar and was like watching YouTube and just noodling away, and suddenly Paradise Lost appeared. And I am so glad it did. I'll be very honest in saying that I think that this EP would suck if it wasn't for Paradise Lost. So I kind of see it as the saviour of the EP. So at the time of writing Grave of Eden, I had been reading Dante's Inferno, and it very much inspired a lot of the EP and what I wrote about. But I also, because of that, found Paradise Lost by John Milton. So a majority of the lyrics for this song are taken from the poem, kind of reworked my own way, except the bridge that is straight up just a line from the poem. So the first verse is my reworkings of some of the lines from the poem, but the second verse is very much me and what I was thinking about and what was on my mind at the time. So it's obviously a very bleak song about the end of the world and realizing that there's nothing that we can do. We could have done something, but we didn't. Obviously, of course, in terms of Grave of Eden and its concept, it's kind of about the people realizing that they have screwed the earth beyond fixing. But to me, it's very much about climate change, and, you know, I can see this scenario happening where we get to the end and, you know, I mean, people have been saying that we can fix this and there's so much that we can do to fix it, but people won't listen, and I'm afraid that they will start listening when it's too late. So one of the lines that I want to explain or talk about is in the second verse, and it's, "In my mind, 23 is my last year." But basically, since I was about 16 or 17, I've just had this feeling ingrained in my bones that I'm going to die at 23. I have no idea why. I don't know where this feeling came from, but it's been like a constant present thought in my mind since I was about 16. So when I started writing this EP, I was 21, and I am now in the last month of being 23. So no, I don't think at this point in time that I'm going to die at 23, but I do still have 3 weeks left, so I guess we'll see. A fun fact about this song though, this sound at the beginning here, that is not a synth, that is a guitar. That is Kevin's guitar, and it's so cool. I don't know how he was doing that. He would like strum it like a few seconds before, and then it would like just fade in and he would like wiggle his guitar. I don't know, it was so cool. It was so fun to watch. The way the drums kick in the second verse, literally every time I hear it, I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I need to start having a main character moment. I love Paradise Lost. It's a bop.
I'm losing my fucking mind. How can they always be so blind?
So the next song is the title track, Grave of Eden. The original title of the EP was going to be Grave of Eden, Garden of Flies, but I shortened it down to just Grave of Eden. So for this song, the verse melody and the lyrics from the first verse, I think, were taken from an old song of mine that I never released or anything. It was for the original version of Catharsis, called Worship Me.
Open eyes, come to, draw a gentle breath, pretty mind, imbue the world with a beautiful death.
In terms of the story, this is Mother still within the earth, kind of realizing that humanity have just destroyed everything that she created again. You know, so she's kind of very slowly losing her mind because she doesn't understand how she could give these people something so beautiful and they take it and then destroy it. She just doesn't understand. So it's kind of her last reflection before she decides that it's time to put a stop to it. So with this song, I actually wasn't there when the boys recorded all of the background instrumentation and did all the effects and stuff on it. I think everything they added is so beautiful. I mean, the piano is just so gorgeous, and the tongue drum and the ukulele, it really just adds so much to the song. And I'm very proud of the big note at the end, "Let Me Decay."
Let me decay.
I actually ad-libbed that when I was recording it. That was the one and only take of that line. I think it's my second favourite on the EP. I think it's beautiful. I really like that song. So at this point in the story, at the ending of Grave of Eden, Let Me Decay, that's kind of Mother's last, okay, I am out of here. This needs to end. So she does what she does best and very slowly begins to crawl out from within the earth and brings with her fire and just flame and dust and bone and just decay. But we have a small interlude in between the rebirth and the destruction called Uncanny Valley. So Uncanny Valley was not written by me, it was written by my band, Kevin and James. So the guitar and bass parts that they wrote were actually the first thing that they ever played in our first ever rehearsal. So we have Kevin Ian's big heavy like chuggy guitar and then James's looping bass line. So when I came out with the idea of a little interlude, we decided we would use those parts and put them together. We weren't really sure where to go with the song once we'd recorded the guitar and bass, but James appeared out of nowhere and had this really, really cool and like spooky and unsettling piano melody. So we put that in and it worked immediately and we loved it. So this represents Mother crawling out of her tomb and is almost the calm before the storm. The storm being the last song, Garden of Flies. So I've not written much about this in my little script because I don't love this song. Oh god. So fun fact about this song, the melody for the verses was stolen from a song that Ben, good friend Ben, improved one night when I was over at his house, and we decided to improvise an album.
Fuck. Johnny Bonzo, stab me in my behind.
One of the songs had this particular melody that I remembered and went, I guess I could maybe try and make that work. And I don't know if I should have, but you know what? I did it anyway. So this song comes from the perspective of the people on Earth when Mother erupts from within it and starts destroying things. It's definitely from the perspective of one person who is kind of watching this all unfold and is very, very scared and wishes that they could have done more, but they couldn't because they were so scared the whole time. Character singing is me if I was in this world and this was happening. There's a nod to that in one of the pre-choruses in which I sing, I'd rather drown than let them win. My biggest fear is water, so that's saying a lot. As much as I tend to knock Garden of Flies, I do love the ending. I think the ending is so cool with the a cappella and then the rolling like funeral march drum beat and then just the massive onslaught of guitar and harmony and like big crashing drums and bass. I just think it's so cool and it's so effective and impactful and really just sums up the destruction. And then of course at the end we have the heartbeat slowly fading out and stopping and representing the end of the world. And then we can only imagine that Mother has to start again and she has to rebuild the earth from the ground up and live through the same events over and over again. And that is the story of Grave of Eden. But seeing as I did just release the deluxe edition, I thought that I would talk about those songs as well. So when I first wrote Lilith, I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be a fast-paced, high-energy, heavy guitar, drum song like we went with in the end, or a, more acoustic-y, slow, finger-picky song like I usually write. So when I decided I was going to do a deluxe version, I knew that I wanted to try and do that second version of Lilith, more slowed down, more my style. So I see Lilith alternate version as a more grown-up and mature version of the original song, Lilith. Obviously it was written and arranged 2 years after the first one, so it is a more grown-up and mature version because I am more grown-up. I don't think I'm more mature, but I'm definitely more grown-up. And of course it has the addition of strings and a brass section. I reached out to a wonderful friend of mine and asked him if he wanted to work on it and arrange things for me, and he said absolutely. So him and another friend of his produced it and just made it sound so dramatic and so cinematic and just everything that I think Lilith herself would love.
Knowing my skin is crimsoned by
So next we have Original Sin, which is basically a spin-off of Paradise Lost because a lot of the lyrics are taken from the poem as well. When I was choosing which ones to put in Paradise Lost, I basically just took like a chunk of them and wrote them out, and some of them didn't make it into the song but were going to be a spoken word piece on the original EP called Sad Cure. I didn't like how that sounded in the end, so I didn't do it, so I figured I would take those words that I loved so much and put them into a different song. The song all came together very quickly. Obviously it's just me who recorded it, no production or anything like that other than me and my ukulele and some harmonies. A lot of the time before I write songs I have their titles first and don't know anything other than that, so that was the case with Original Sin, Grave of Eden, Garden of Flies and Uncanny Valley. So when I was researching this concept for the EP, I read about the original sin and that concept. I thought it was a really cool title, so I went with that. The next is Shoot Me Like a Dog.
Like the dog I am before I bite myself in two.
This is a very, very personal song, which is why I didn't put it on the original EP. I felt it kind of strayed too far from the concept that I was very loosely trying to uphold. I just didn't think it fit the vibe at all, so I left it off. But I had fully written and produced it back like last April, I think, so it's been around for a while. I was in a very bad place mentally when I was writing this EP, and I think that's kind of particularly evident in this song. I'm very proud of this one. I arranged everything myself, if you couldn't tell. So all the instrumentation, the bass and all the synths and stuff, they're all me. I did all that myself. I actually did a lot of the backing vocals. I added a lot more this year when I knew that we were going to be releasing it. I recorded them the night that I first saw the Aurora Borealis. I remember I was sat up in my brother's room because his room faces north, and I had the blinds down, and I was looking out the window, and I was like checking my phone religiously to see if they were out, because they were meant to be coming. So I was seeing on Twitter if like anybody had seen them in my area or in Ireland at all, and it turns out yes, and I managed to see them. So that's a really nice memory that I have attached to this song, and definitely one that I try to think of more than how I felt back when I wrote it. But I will say, something very strange happened while I was recording this song last year. So this story goes out to anybody who's been following me for a long time, who remembers when I used to do like scary stories and paranormal segments in my live streams. So basically, I was sitting in my room and I was recording the vocals for this song. And you know, I was just working away, doing a vocal take, when all of a sudden my room gets freezing cold. And I recorded this during the summer, so it was warm. And then suddenly I felt like this pressure, this cold pressure on my forehead, as if somebody was like patting my head, kind of going like, there, you're okay, like just holding my head. It was very comforting, freezing, and very, very noticeable, like literal like pressure, as if somebody had just touched my head like that and just been like, there. As soon as it happened, and then it stopped, the room got warm again. But you know, I mean, I don't know what I believe in, but I would like to think that that was somebody, you know, listening to me singing about what I was singing about, you know, the topic of this song, and kind of giving me a little comforting pat to tell me I was okay and that I would be okay. So the second last song on the deluxe version of the EP is Paradise Lost acoustic version.
Paradise lost, paradise lost, paradise lost, paradise lost, paradise lost.
This features my band, Kevin and James, on guitar and backing vocals. So the day the EP came out last year, I played my very first gig. Played 2 songs at a collective musician collaborative gig kind of thing. So the first song I played was Under a Crimson Glow, and then the second one was Paradise Lost, acoustic version featuring my band. I had so much fun like arranging the harmonies and playing around with the song to make it sound good acoustically. I always knew that I wanted to release that version, so thankfully the boys were kind enough to play and sing the song on the EP. And it is the one track other than Uncanny Valley that I don't play any instruments on. And lastly we have Cerberus.
I'll watch this world fall to its knees. I'll make a promise not to grieve. Despair keeps my plate full till it bites me, bites me, bites me.
So initially the EP was meant to be much longer, and there was talk of it even being an album at one point with like 15 tracks on it. They were meant to be songs from different sides of the story. So just, you know, people from all different aspects and walks of life. And Cerberus was one of the songs that really reflected that. So this is from the point of view of kind of businessmen and CEOs, and, you know, reflects capitalism in the society that we live in. You know, like employees are working themselves to death but not seeing a penny, whereas the CEOs and the people that they work for and their bosses are making so much money but not having to lift a finger. These big businessmen and the higher-ups are watching the world collapse, knowing that there's so much that they could do about it, but they're just not going to because they don't care enough. In the story of Dante's Inferno, Cerberus is kind of like the guard dog to one of the circles, and he goes around tearing people apart, and the only way to kind of avoid that is to lie down and play dead. Play dead, I'll leave you in the dirt. Then also as a nod to Cerberus, I repeat a lot of lines 3 times. So like till it bites me in the chorus, or maybe it'll work, that kind of thing, which I thought was pretty cool. I never really liked this song too much. I didn't think it was very good when I wrote it for the EP, so I left it off. But in March of this year, I actually had the opportunity to open for a band at a gig, like an actual gig. I was the support act at an actual gig, and I'm still not quite over it. I don't think I'll ever be over how cool that was. But when I was trying to figure out my set list, I remembered Cerberus, and I gave it a playthrough, and kind of halfway through it I was like, wow, this is actually a really fun song, and I'm really enjoying playing this. So it made it onto the set list. And like how it's the last track on the EP, it was the last song that I played at this gig. So I definitely have a soft spot for it for that reason, because it meant that the gig was over and I could stop having a heart attack. Yeah, so that's the story behind Grave of Eden. Thank you to everybody who's been listening to it. I'm really glad you're enjoying it. It means the world to me that you guys are still here, despite the fact that I'm very rarely here. I really appreciate it. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. I will hopefully see you soon.